Now, why this talk is called quantum politics? I would call it Introduction to Quantum Politics. And what does quantum politics mean? I'll try to explain as an introduction. Because I wrote my first book. It's called The Small States Club. And it has a second title, How the Small Smart States Can Save the World. And I'll tell you later what do I think about that. But for years when I was working with, even when I was free, I was businessman, running my center at Cambridge. I was a faculty to World Economic Forum, speaking there, having conflicts there. Because as you can already see, I don't like to be politically correct. The way I'm dressed and the way all of you are the politically correct ones. I'm the rebellion. Okay? Now, I had the same problem at the World Economic Forum because of World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab was saying we have to be politically correct. And I thought that the advantage of the West was always that you have a freedom, you say whatever you think, because I was in Soviet Union. Yeah? I hated that. So I think I can go long about this story, but I think the time is probably to go and to speak about what do I mean when I speak about quantum politics. That was the first book. For years I was thinking about, when I was thinking about human society on this planet, and with a growing number of people, speaking here and there, I was finding that there are similarities the way material world behaves, run by laws of nature, and the way human sort of a society or people, that there are millions of them or there are billions of them, behave. There are similarities. Of course, we're all part of nature. And I found that even our social behavior somehow can be explained by some laws of nature. But classical or quantum, and I explain why. So I wrote this book. Before that, I wrote a book which was called The Quantum World. And I wrote it with my son, who was a British product. He went to school here, he went to university, read international relations at LSE, then became a lawyer, worked at he loved mathematics, then Harvard Business School, became a businessman, but his passion. So when there was pandemic, I had spare time because I couldn't go here and there. I was president and we decided to write a book virtually. He was in London, I was in Yerevan, and we were writing a book. We wrote a book. And the book was not published because the parts of the book were eventually published by the Munich Security Conference in their special volume on diplomacy. And then while writing a book, we understood that we have different ideas. So we ended up writing a book which is The Golden Mean, and I rewriting the book in the form of the quantum politics, which I hope will be published soon. So it's an introduction for the new book rather than speaking about the old. Now, in order to come to that introduction, probably because I was asked not to be heavy or mathematical, or because quantum politics are part of, in fact, I've written two books separately. One is academic, and the other one is sort of a popular. I was asked to speak more generally because not everybody is a physicist here or mathematician. So in order to make it simple, I think I can do that if I will tell you the story in a form which is very common for everybody today, television series. A television series starts with seasons and episodes, am I right? Okay. The first season in my story will be called The Evil Empire. Episode number 1, The Evil Empire. It will start like in Star Wars, far, far away, many years ago. There was an evil empire far in the galaxy called Soviet Union. You have already forgotten about that. And I was born on that. And I was alien for you guys because I was born in a place which was completely different. A lot of people, when I tell them, young people, about Soviet Union, they don't believe where we lived. It was completely isolated. Everything was wrong in that country. It was there because a great economist, Karl Marx, did a fantastic research on capitalism called The Capital. Then, as every human being, he got excited. He had a partner, Friedrich Engels, that continued the economic research fundamental to a dream, which was called communism, the manifesto. And basically, even Karl Marx was saying this will be a part of an evolutionary development of the world. Well, there were people that said, no, we can do a revolution, like Trotsky. And later, even Lenin saying, no, we can do a communism even in one state. No, thanks God, nobody said we can have a communist in one village. And the experiment, the idea, academic idea, became a dream that became a philosophy and an ideology for the country that was number one populist state in the world, speaking about equality. In reality, there were people who were more equal than the others, the members of Communist Party Politburo, and nothing was working. Nothing was working. And I'm sorry, there was a place that was working. And I'm a product of that. Soviet Union had to prove to the world, starting Africa, Latin America, to all of the nations, that they're better than communists. How do you prove that? You prove that by winning Olympic Games, by sending the first man to space, okay? That by having the best classical musicians. Am I right? And how do you achieve that? In order to achieve that, you have to focus on something which is important, education. In Soviet Union, I'm a product of that. Educational system was the most competitive. The state, because of the ideologies, was monitoring every in each school, everywhere, all over Soviet, to find a talent in music, sports, mathematics, physics. I was very young, had some talent, they found me. And all my education, I was followed, extra classes, extra this. Being a student, getting a stipend named after Lenin, it was a salary. And PhD student, I was getting a stipend, which was a salary of associate professor, and got a prize named after Lenin, the greatest scientist, as a young scientist. So it was very, very competitive. The way we were trained, basically inside Soviet Union, sportsmen, musicians, scientists were living in a capitalist world. So in the capitalist world, in the framework of science and education. That's the way Soviet Union was beating the West. That's something, that's the reunion. This is Alexei Pajitnov, that hangs. That is the Tetris guys and me. When the film was coming out, there was a question, will I be interested in that film? I said, unless George Clooney plays me, I'm not interested. So this is where Soviet Union beat the West, the Sputnik. Soviet Union didn't have any industry to beat America or the West. Who was beating America was the scientists. This guy was the first in the space, Yuri Gagarin. Again, why? Not because of capitalism was worse than communism. No, the other way around. Because inside communist Soviet Union, there was a part which was absolutely capitalistic, very competitive, very hard capitalistic, that was creating scientists that could send this guy to the space. Yuri Vartanyan was born in a small town in Armenia. They found him, they took him to Moscow and to that city, and he became 7 times champion of the world, Olympic champion, and so on and so forth. The first guy that was only 82 kilos, handling 400 kilograms. David Oistrakh, the greatest violins player. Maxim Vengerov. He was found in Siberia in a small city, taken to Moscow when he was 7, and now is living the greatest violinist in the world. A product of Soviet capitalism in the educational system. So I do believe that education is all about not only giving knowledge and all of that, but also finding a talent. Because everybody has a talent. One has the talent of a craftsman, the other one has a talent of a physicists, sportsmen. One has a talent to talk. When I was young, I didn't have that talent. I was forced to learn this, to speak. But I had the talent of listening. So everybody has a talent. You have to just find it and support that. I believe that. Okay, it's a different story. You know who the guy is. Now, episode 2, collapse of the empire. You know why Soviet Union collapsed, because the oil was very high. Reagan had Star Wars idea. The Pope was Polish, you name it. I'll just add to this 2. 1, a dream. Highly educated young people, everybody wanted to live in Switzerland. And the West somehow was penetrating into Soviet Union, not only as a dream, as a far planet, but also physical things. Geniusly, McDonald's opened a shop in Moscow. The queue was 5 kilometers to go to that 3-star restaurant. Kilometers. There was a genius in America. His name was Don Candle. He was the chairman of PepsiCo. He managed to convince the Soviet government that he will trade with Soviet Union, buy oil and gold and whatever, and instead opening Pepsi-Cola factories in every niche republic. So people were drinking Pepsi-Cola like that a fantastic French wine from Bordeaux, because it was smelling and tasting of the West. So who contributed to the collapse of Soviet Union? McDonald's, Pepsi-Cola, Beatles, and Jimi Hendrix. Don't laugh. When I was young, I loved Jimi Hendrix. Okay, you have to remember that. The second person that contributed strongly, which is not recognized, the name was Comrade Gorbachev. I mean, if always in life it's important where do you look at the issue. So it comes from theory of relativity as well. From the world perspective, he's a great personality that helped to basically destroy the Soviet Union. Fine. From the point of the West, he was someone that confirmed the victory of the West against the capitalism or democracy against totalitarian. If you were Soviet citizen, you could see that the guy doesn't want at all to destroy Soviet Union. What he wanted to do is to change the Soviet Union to survive, to keep the Communist Party to survive. So he had 2 choices. He was another populist, very strong one. Unlike this one man, who was a very pragmatic guy, good or bad. So he had a choice, either to do the first reforms in the economy and keep the rule of Communist Party, like in China, or to do the other way around, which is to give freedom of speech, but you were not managing yet to do economic reform. He decided this one. Ideology before pragmatism. Pragmatics took China where they are today. He took this emotional way, and of course what you get is 300 people in Soviet Union who were living a very not nice life, who were dreaming not to live there or to change the country, who were basically hungry. They were given the freedom to talk. What do you get? Reading the breakdown of Soviet Union. So please add this 2 into this episode 2, collapse of the empire. Episode 3. I will name it End of History. Why? Because the West won the battle against communism. Everybody was victorious here. And people got so excited because there was nothing else to do. So we finished with communism. There's no other choice. The world saw that capitalism is better than communism. So what's next? I think the West thought it's over. So capitalism is victorious, democracy is victorious, they are linked together. Whoever will become capitalist will become democratic. I'm not kidding, huh? This was the idea, and it's still there. I was 10 days ago, more than 10 days ago, in Los Angeles speaking at a conference of Michael Milken's conference in California. And the panel that I was speaking was, can capitalism safeguard democracy? There were 5 people of us, 4 Americans, and they were answering the question, can American capitalism safeguard American democracy? Which was basically a debate about who is going to be the next president. Well, I was saying, listen, guys, except there's 300 million people in America, there's another world. Can capitalism safeguard democracy? The answer is no. You have to work very hard to make capitalism a proper human capitalism, and you have to work very, very hard to keep democracy. But early 90s, we all thought it's finished. So Russia, yeah, republics, yeah. We have them a little bit, let them become capitalists, automatically they will become democratic. So Russia became, they never had a history of capitalism. Russia was imperial, then there was another empire, Soviet Union. There was never capitalism there. And they became capitalists. What sort of, you call it in the West, oligarchs. Am I right? Because I was always concerned, why on earth United States and the West are openly going to China? Because the philosophy was there, we make China capitalist, China will become democracy and will not have a problem. Has China become democratic? So I think putting together capitalism and democracy that are interlinked, that everything will happen automatically, is wrong. There was even a famous scientist, political, Fukuyama, who wrote the end of history. So everything is fine now. No. It's not the end of the history, it's the beginning of the new history, which I call quantum. It started more than 100 years ago, which was a big mess, not in the world, but it was, the world is always messy, but it was in physics, because people were discovering events they couldn't explain using classical mechanics of Isaac Newton. And in order to explain them, the behavior of elementary particles, they had not to do further research, they had to change the mentality, the logic of science, okay? This is the way quantum mechanics and theory of relativity were born, because what they were preaching was absolutely not logical from the classical point. So you have geniuses like Paul Dirac, Heisenberg, Max Planck, and of course Albert Einstein, that changed the world, and then we started understanding. That brought us today. Whatever you have there in your hands, which is telephones, is a product of this quantum revolution, what was happening then. Okay? Flying to the space, whatever we do now, okay? It has gone beyond. So this is season 2, Introduction to Quantum Politics. In the books, I have 6 seasons, but this is only 2. Introduction. And then what happened? This started changing everything fast, especially now. How much time do you spend in virtual life? 4 hours? 6 hours? 8 hours? Half of your life. Every and each individual now is material and the virtual. And we are going further and further and further. That small gadget has changed democracy. In normal classical democracy, you go to ballot box once in 5 years and vote it. And then you are lucky you see your MP a couple of times per year. In new quantum world, you vote in Facebook 10 times a day. And it has huge impact. Okay? We are becoming more and more virtual. Eventually we'll become virtual. There'll be change of species, but that's too far. But the other important thing is that the way we run our business. I made a mistake when my son was investing in a company which is called Farfetch, whoever knows this company. They created that. He was one of the creators. Just basically investing in just a platform that was between everything. The company's value became 6 billion. I'd never believed that people will buy a suit on a telephone. Now they buy a yacht or a Rolls Royce on a telephone. There's a complete change, and the source of this change is quantum technology. We started thinking about this when pandemic happened, and we say that the pandemic has changed the world. No, it's the other way around. That's another episode, pandemic. Pandemic happened because the world has already changed. Because we all go, be that here, in Bangladesh, in Qatar, in Singapore, we all go to the same malls, to the same shops in hundreds of thousands. We travel in an airplane with 300 people together. So if there is a virus in China, the next one will be not in Mongolia. The viruses, they don't travel on a donkey. They take the airplane to Argentina. So the world is completely not classical, like traveling on a donkey. It's quantum, okay? So the world has changed. And we have to think how we are going to run tomorrow, our military, because in the new world, quantum world, doesn't matter how many soldiers you have. You see what's happening in Ukraine? What matters is how many drones you have. Is your IE program more powerful than the one that the other side is using? Because their drones will be IE run. Okay? In economy, it's all be run by digital, by artificial intelligence, by quantum processing or computers and so on and so forth. Another pillar of democracy, media. Do you believe that media is telling truth? Who believes? One, because you work for. No. The reality is because we are losing that belief. Why we are losing? Because it's so easily manipulated. I can do that. I'm a computer scientist. I can write an article about you. What's your name? Sorry, the believer. Simon, I can write an article and put that in the Bangladesh news that you are an alien. And someone because they wrote about me. They wrote that I was British citizen, I was this, all of that stuff, that I was when I was there. It's all manipulative. And there's a huge problem to basically see where is the truth, where is the false. So that's why even Cambridge University has introduced a new word, which is called post-truth. Doesn't matter the truth. We can design the truth, even after what it happened. But just convincing millions of people that this is the truth. Because everybody is connected to that network. So we are living in a quasi-classical world now, on our way to become living in a quantum world, and we are. And in the new quantum world, the quant becomes very important, and the quant is the small. Individual becomes very important. Individual becomes powerful. Individual that even doesn't exist, it is virtual and becomes powerful. Individual which is even just a creation becomes powerful. This world, and the fight will be how you are going to use the power of small individuals like us, or the power of small states. If you have not noticed, I would like you to look at the statistics of the World Economic Forum, the UN, Bloomberg. And if I ask a question, which countries are the most advanced countries in the world in innovation? The top 10. Out of the top 10, only 2 are United States and Britain. The others are small states. Norway, Sweden, Estonia, Ireland, and so on and so forth. Who are the best run states in the world? Okay? Small states. All 10 are small states. The best electronic governance in the world. All 10. And you have from Singapore up to you name it, the small and smart states that know, and they are basically know their identity, know their advantages, and they are managing it very well. So this book is about 10 states, 9 small smart, plus Armenia, which I consider we are not smart. In a case like Armenia, where's my natural resource? It's not oil and gas, it's human resource. There are 5 times more Armenians living abroad than in Armenia. They are very well established. From US Senate to the foreign minister of Russia, who is Armenian, Lavrov. So, do you use that? as Ireland is using that power, or Israel is using their diaspora people living abroad. No. Identity matters. You can have a strong identity like Armenians or Israel or Irish, or you can create the identity like in Singapore, bringing together three completely incompatible communities are creating new identity, which is called, or strengthening the identity like a state of Qatar in a conflict. So I was examining what are the reasons that small states can be smart. I was not examining whether sort of democratic, non-democratic, their former behavior. No, just the sources of being smart, and why they are important. This is new phenomena, because before the small state was existing as an entourage or support of big ones. Now it's now the other way around, because I was instead, when I was talking, they asked me, oh, the small states are always backyard of the big ones, and so on. They are run by the big ones. I said, I'm sorry, are you suggesting me that Israel is run by America? That was the same reaction. In fact, some people said it's the other way around. So I didn't say that. They believe in that. So basically the time has changed. The small is becoming beautiful and powerful. Because in the future, as I said, are you small United Arab Emirates that has the first and the only university on artificial intelligence in the world and is spending billions in data management and artificial intelligence? Will they have the strongest army? Yes, possible. Because in order to have 1 million soldiers, you have to be as big as Turkey or Russia. But to have 1 million drones, you can be Israel. And your drones can be as powerful as the other states. Who said that geniuses are born only in California, like Steve Jobs, or in Switzerland, like Albert Einstein? No, they can be born anywhere in the world. So in the new world, the military, the economy, the media will be depending how smart you are. And of course, the smartness becomes a new category of this new quantum world. And the small states can become the balance. In the old world, the balance of the world was kept détente. Russia had 20,000 nuclear warheads, America had 20,000. They could destroy each other, the whole world, times 10. So nobody was fighting. They were fighting little wars in Africa or elsewhere, but not the big fight. How do we keep this world now safe? With a lot of states have nuclear, and is the nuclear the source of détente? I don't think so, because as I said, smartness and how much are you involved in this new quantum world, quantum technology will matter. How many drones you have and how they are run. Is your software, is your artificial intelligence more powerful? Because the small states can become as powerful as the medium or a bigger one. If we bring them as a club under some specific umbrella, they can become the basis of international security and safety, because the big ones, in order to do something, have to get the agreement of the smaller ones. And the smaller ones have to impact. In general, I said in general, smaller ones who like stability and security rather than conflicts. So in the future, small states, as a product of quantum world, will have huge impact on security and safety.